Study shows there could be benefits found in reducing election duties in McLean County through consolidation. The McLean County League of Women Voters is again studying the functions of the Bloomington Election Commission and the McLean County Clerk. The league conducted a similar study back in 2008 recommending a merger, but no action was taken. A bipartisan election commission is one of the options. Right now, Bloomington handles its own election system, while the county takes everything else, including normal.
The main benefit I see is that when you're an election professional, we only deal with the elections. So we have more time to double check, we have more time to do everything else because we're not worrying about all of the other duties that a clerk may have.
Stremlau believes an appointed leader of the combined outfit is best. McLean County Clerk Kathy Michael told us tonight she would also favor a consolidation, but would prefer that it remain an elected leader. Right now, Bloomington has 54,000 registered voters and McLean County has 64,000.